Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep today into, well, a philosophy that feels incredibly relevant right now, doesn't it? This idea of finding lasting growth, real serenity, and critically, how we get there. It's not about those massive life changes we often think of, the sudden diet overhaul or quitting your job tomorrow. No, this is about what our source material, Serenity in Small Steps, calls gentle, intentional choices. So our mission today, to really pull out the core insights from this material for you. We want to give you those practical psychological nuggets. Why does going small actually deliver such big results? We know you want this info quickly, thoroughly, so this deep dive, it's designed to cut through all that noise. We aim to leave you with some, well, hopefully surprising, definitely applicable wisdom, but without the usual information overload feeling.
Yeah, and what's fascinating right off the bat is how this source material really makes you confront how we as a society think about achievement. The main argument, it directly challenges that whole go big or go home idea.
Right.
True, lasting change, according to this philosophy, it just doesn't come from those huge, flashy transformations, the grand gestures everyone celebrates.
Yeah.
Actually, the source suggests those are often the least likely to stick. Real, sustainable serenity. It grows from the small, consistent, almost mundane things you do every single day. We live in a culture that's just obsessed with the big stuff, the instant success, the overnight sensation. But if you think about, basic human psychology, that kind of explosive change often just lacks the foundation to last.
That distinction feels really important, but I have to admit my own default is often to try and change everything all at once. We celebrate that sprint, don't we? The 3-week perfect challenge, the all or nothing approach, and then
Only crash.
Exactly. So why is that? If this quiet strength of just showing up every day is so powerful, why do we seem to resist it so much? Why go for the hard, flashy path that, honestly, it often leads to failure?
That's a really key question.
Yeah.
And the source tackles it directly by talking about cognitive load.
Cognitive load. Okay.
Yeah. See, grand gestures feel heroic, right? They give you that instant rush of feeling like you're doing something massive, conquering a huge task. Self-efficacy, they call it. But the thing is, they also demand enormous mental energy, massive willpower. And those resources, they're finite. We run out.
Right.
So when you inevitably stumble on that grand gesture, the psychological hit is huge.
Yep.
It leads to shame, feeling like a failure, and you just drop the whole thing.
Yeah, I've been there.
Haven't we all? But the beauty of the small step is it minimizes that friction. It minimizes the cognitive load. The commitment is so tiny, your brain barely registers it as a threat or a big drain.
Yeah.
It actually makes consistency feel almost effortless.
Okay, so it's not just about, being nicer to ourselves, though that's part of it. It's actually about designing a path of least resistance for our own brains. Makes sense.
Exactly. Working with our psychology, not against it.
All right, let's anchor this. Chapter 1 of the source material kicks things off with this really lovely foundational metaphor. Picturing yourself sitting by a serene lake. This lake is totally still. It reflects the sky, the trees, perfectly clear. No ripples of worry, no stress turning things up. And that is the metaphor for the state we're aiming for, this calm, clear mind. Neurological coherence, I think you called it.
Yeah, that's the term the source uses.
The whole philosophy emphasizes that growth has to be like nurturing something delicate,
Right.
like tending a plant. It assures us that profound, lasting change actually comes from simplicity, not from adding more complexity to our lives.
And that serene lake image, it's more than just poetry. It's actually a kind of measurable goal state. The text explains that when our mind achieves that level of calm, our prefrontal cortex, or the part for planning and complex thought, it just functions better, optimally.
Okay.
But when that lake gets choppy, stirred up by worry or stress, that clarity just vanishes. So the first goal isn't even productivity, it's clarity. That's the gentle beginning.
Clarity first. I like that.
And you get that clarity through committing to these small steps. Think about the analogy of a mighty river. How does it carve through solid rock? Not with one massive flood, right?
No, it's constant flow.
Exactly. It's that unending, patient flow. Your life, the intentional path you're trying to build, it's shaped by that same quiet but incredibly powerful principle. Each tiny choice you make is like a drop of water. Added together, they become this unstoppable, sustained force.
That's a powerful visual. Okay, so if the lake is clarity, then avoiding just doing more stuff keeps the water calm. Makes sense. So what's the very first, simplest step the source recommends for planting the seed of presence? The absolute beginning.
It sounds almost too simple, but it boils down to radical intentionality. The very first act is the deep breath.
Just breathing.
Well, yes, but it's more than just the physical act. It's framed as a symbolic pause, an anchor that grounds you right here, in the present moment. Because the source is clear. The present moment, the here and now, that's the only place where real, authentic, non-reactive growth can actually start. And the source makes this a really powerful distinction, too. This philosophy is about intentional choices, choices infused with awareness. That's totally different from the usual advice to just do more, add more things to your already packed schedule.
That distinction, intentional choices versus just doing more, that hits on my earlier point about cognitive load, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Like when you savor a warm drink, as the source suggests, you're not just ticking off drink coffee on your
Oh,
list,
wait.
you're consciously tuning in, feeling the warmth, smelling the aroma, noticing the texture. That tiny act becomes a micro moment of mindfulness. It's like a small rebellion against the usual hurried, half-aware way we live.
Precisely. And the source frames these tiny acts not as trivial little things, but as the actual building blocks of an identity shift.
An identity shift. Tell me more about that.
Well, when you share a genuine smile, you're not just being polite. You're subconsciously affirming to yourself, I am the kind of person who creates little ripples of kindness. When you slow down to really notice the steam rising from your tea, you're affirming, I am someone who values being present. It's the intentionality behind the small act that gives it this monumental weight, psychologically speaking.
That's the key nugget right there, the identity shift. We usually focus on the action itself, not the identity it's slowly building.
Yeah.
And if we go back to that forest path analogy, progress really is incremental, step by step. When you take that first small step, you might not see the whole destination, but the action itself confirms, okay, I'm moving, I'm committed. It builds confidence in the process, not just the outcome. So let's give the listener that immediate, gentle action, straight from Chapter 1, the 30-second practice. Tomorrow morning, before the day just rushes in, pause. Just 30 seconds, take one deep, anchoring breath, and maybe even say it out loud or in your head. Today, I choose calm.
Yes. And that 30-second practice, it's an act of proactive self-empowerment. It really is. In that tiny window, that half minute, you are consciously setting the internal tone for your day. You're essentially signaling to your nervous system, hey, I'm not just going to react to whatever chaos comes my way today. I'm setting my own internal compass first.
Okay.
And that tiny non-negotiable moment of choosing calm first thing, it can have this cascading, stabilizing effect on everything that follows your interactions, your decisions. It's like the neurological equivalent of consciously smoothing the surface of that serene lake before the day's winds start blowing.
Setting the tone, I like that. Okay, so we've got the gentle intention down. Now we need to talk about consistency, actually making these small actions stick. And here's where, for me, it gets really interesting, because this tackles that psychological hurdle.
Right.
How do we make habits last?
Right.
The sources really emphasize how accessible these small actions are. They bring in the garden metaphor. Every choice you make is like planting a seed, holding the potential for growth. And your life, that's the garden. We often feel paralyzed because the change we think we need feels enormous, like suddenly working only 10 hours a week or completely overhauling our diet overnight. But the source material says, look, you don't expect a full harvest the day after you plant a seed, right? You nurture it, you water it, and with patient consistency, the growth is inevitable.
Yeah, this is where it shifts from the philosophical maybe to the really tactical. Chapter 2 gets into specific, actionable habits, but always viewed through that lens of identity. These aren't just to-do items. They're framed as seeds of self-care that are designed to be almost effortless to start.
Okay, give us some examples. What kind of seeds are we talking about?
Well, consider the daily rituals they outline. Drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning. Simple, right? But frame it as a seed of vitality, a commitment to your basic biological well-being that takes, 5 seconds?
Okay.
Or writing just one sentence of gratitude, not a whole journal page, just one sentence. That cultivates appreciation. It affirms, I am a person who notices the good.
One sentence. That feels doable.
Exactly. Or maybe just taking 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes to stretch.
Right.
That's easing your body, easing your mind. It's signaling to yourself that your physical comfort actually matters.
I really appreciate the focus on one sentence or 5 minutes. That's that friction reduction idea in action again, isn't it? Making it too small to fail.
Precisely.
But let's push on this ripple effect idea the source mentions. It claims these small personal acts spread outward. How does my 5-minute stretch positively influence, say, my demanding colleague? That feels like, well, a bit of a stretch, no pun intended.
Fair enough. It's a valid challenge. The ripple effect, as described, seems to work mainly through two channels. your own emotional regulation and behavioral mirroring.
Okay, break that down.
So when you take those 5 minutes to stretch or pause or breathe, you're actively regulating your own stress response. You lower your cortisol, you calm your nervous system. This means you have slightly more cognitive resources available. You're less emotionally reactive. So you approach conversations, even difficult ones, with a bit more composure.
Right, I'm calmer. But how does that affect the colleague?
Well, when your colleague or your partner or your kids interacts with a calmer, more present version of you, their own nervous system subconsciously picks up on that safety and stability. It's often unconscious.
Ah, okay.
The source suggests that consistent small acts of self-care build this kind of psychological buffer. This buffer makes you less likely to take things personally, less likely to react defensively. So you end up influencing the interaction positively, not by trying to change the other person, but simply by being a more stable, calm anchor yourself. They react differently to you.
That's a fantastic way to put it. So it's really about cultivating your own presence, not aiming for perfection in the interaction. And then that presence kind of spills over.
Exactly.
And the beauty is, like you said, how accessible this is. You don't need hours of free time or loads of money. It could be as simple as taking, what, 3 deep breaths before hitting reply on that stressful email we talked about earlier?
Exactly.
But what about setbacks?
Oh.
Let's be real. I commit to the one sentence of gratitude. Sounds easy. Then life happens. 3 days go by and I completely forget. Stress just pushes those small intentions right out of my head. How does the source suggest we handle, actual failure, not just minor slips?
Yeah, this is crucial, and it loops back to that gentle beginning idea. The source is really clear on this. The most important rule is never miss twice.
Never miss twice.
If you forget one day, that's just data. It's not a moral failing. It's not proof you can't do it. It just means you return to the practice the very next day. No self-flagellation, no drama.
Right.
The power of the small step means that even if you fail for a day, the cost of getting back on track is practically zero. You haven't blown a whole week of intense effort. You just missed a 5-minute opportunity. You just start again tomorrow.
That lowers the stakes dramatically.
It does. And when you look back over weeks, months, that's when the stack stones analogy really clicks. You start to see your life, your well-being, as something you've consciously built, stone by gentle stone. Over time, those small intentional choices, the breath, the stretch, the sentence of gratitude, they stack up. They build this strong, resilient, intentional path towards the life you want in a way that one huge, stressful effort could probably never achieve.
Okay, so to make this really actionable, really connected to that long-term view, let's reinforce that practice the source suggests. Noting a small win each day. So tonight, maybe before bed, just reflect and consciously note one small win from the day. Could be listening to this deep dive. Could be genuinely enjoying your coffee this morning. Or maybe resisting the urge to check your phone during a conversation. Just one thing.
Yes. And noting these small wins matters deeply. It directly counteracts a common psychological trap called hedonic adaptation.
Hedonic adaptation. Sounds fancy. What is it?
It basically means we get used to positive things really quickly. We achieve something, feel good for a bit, and then that becomes the new normal. And we need the next big thing to feel happy again.
The treadmill.
Exactly. But by deliberately pausing to acknowledge and appreciate a small win, you're actively training your brain to value the existing, stable, gentle progress you've intentionally cultivated. These small wins become tangible proof that you're moving forward. They're evidence of your commitment. And they're critical fuel for long-term emotional resilience. They reinforce this progress is real, it's happening, and it's enough.
It is enough. That feels like a core message here.
Absolutely. And as we shift into the maybe deeper mindset aspects of this journey, we really have to talk about patience. The source material calls it the quiet, gentle ally.
Patience. Okay, often easier said than done.
Isn't it just? But it's almost always misunderstood. We tend to think of patience as just passive waiting, gritting your teeth until something happens.
Yeah, basically.
But the source completely reframes it. It defines patience as an active, conscious choice. It's a quiet strength, but it requires high engagement, high awareness. It's the deliberate decision to trust the process, to trust the unfolding of life, and to honor the fact that growth isn't always linear. It has its own rhythms.
Okay.
So when you feel stuck, or maybe a goal feels impossibly far off, patience is that internal voice, that mechanism that whispers, hey, the effort you're putting in right now, this small, consistent step, that is the work. That is sufficient. You're exactly where you need to be right now.
That's a helpful reframe. But practically, how do we tell the difference between active, conscious patience and just, well, procrastinating or being lazy? That's where the friction comes in real life, right?
Okay.
When should I push harder and when do I need to just be patient?
That's a great question, and it highlights the nuance that separates this philosophy from just generic be patient advice.
Hmm.
The distinction, according to the source, lies in the quality of your effort, not the quantity or the speed of result.
Quality of effort.
Okay, if your effort is consistent, intentional, and gentle, meaning it's low friction, sustainable, then patience is required for the results of that effort to show up. You trust the process because you are doing the process. If, on the other hand, you're just waiting for motivation to strike before you even take the small step, well, that's passive waiting. That's procrastination.
Got it. So patience applies to the outcome, not the input. The input needs to be consistent.
Precisely. The oak tree analogy in the source illustrates this beautifully. Think of a huge, majestic oak. Takes decades, maybe centuries of patient growth, right? With weather storms, droughts.
Mm-hmm.
But that visible, slow growth is only possible because of constant, consistent internal effort. The roots are always seeking water, always anchoring deeper. The trunk is constantly reinforcing itself layer by layer. Personal growth, the source argues, is exactly the same. It's a testament to those consistent, small, often unseen efforts. It's not usually a sudden miracle.
I understand that better now. The input has to be steady, even if small, and then you trust the outcome will follow. It really does feel like an antidote to our culture's obsession with instant gratification. Patience, framed this way, invites us to step off that frantic treadmill, that constant chasing of the next immediate validation. It reminds us that real, lasting change is usually a marathon of gentle steps, not a sprint. It's about surrendering that need for absolute control over the timeline and instead embracing the wisdom that comes from just being on the journey itself.
Well said.
So, to bring this down to earth, make it a daily practice. Let's look at the reflection practice mentioned in the source. Each evening, reflecting on one moment you handled with grace. What does grace mean here?
Grace in this context means handling a situation with a degree of calm, composure, or kindness. Perhaps when your initial impulse might have been frustration or reactivity. Maybe it was staying calm and stuck in traffic instead of leaning on the horn. Or perhaps it was truly listening to a friend share their problems without mentally jumping ahead to formulate your own advice or story.
Okay, small moments.
Tiny moments. But the sources call these reflections luminous pearls. By consciously noticing them, maybe jotting them down, or even just holding them in your awareness for a moment, you're building this tangible record of your own emerging inner strength. You're essentially retraining your brain to look for evidence of your progress, evidence of your calm, rather than automatically dwelling on the stressful bits or the times you messed up.
Finding the pearls. I like that.
And we can practice this patience physically right now with something the source calls the trust breath. Want to try?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so just breathe naturally. On your next inhale, consciously, intentionally draw in a sense of trust in yourself, trust in the process, trust in the gentle flow of life. And then as you exhale, consciously release hurry. Let go of that tension, that feeling of needing to rush, needing to get to the finish line now.
Okay. Inhale, trust. Exhale, hurry.
Just a few cycles like that.
That does feel grounding.
Yeah.
That simple rhythm connects you back to a steadier pace. Now, let's shift slightly from patience to nurturing inner peace. The source is really emphatic that this is the opposite of striving for perfection.
Absolutely. That's a core distinction. Peace, according to this philosophy, isn't some prize you get after you've achieved perfect external circumstances. That's a recipe for never finding it.
Right.
Instead, peace is something woven into moments of presence, moments of acceptance, regardless of what's actually happening around you. It's like an internal landscape that you cultivate within the storm, not after the storm passes. It's the quiet harbor you learn to find and maintain inside yourself, even when the waves are crashing externally.
Finding the harbor within. So how do we build that harbor? What's the practice?
The primary tool offered for this is incredibly simple, yet profound. The I am enough practice. It suggests starting your day with just a 1-minute pause. Maybe before you even get out of bed or while the kettle boils, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just gently whisper to yourself, I am enough.
I am enough. It sounds like a simple affirmation, maybe a bit cliche. Does the source explain why this works psychologically? It must be more than just positive thinking.
It is. The source connects this directly to disrupting negative neural pathways. Many of us, maybe most of us, operate with this kind of default background track of negative self-talk.
Oh,
right?
yeah, the inner critic.
Exactly. That loop of I should be further along. I didn't do enough yesterday. I'm not X enough. This practice is a deliberate daily interruption of that loop. By consciously, intentionally affirming I am enough, right at the start of the day, you're actively planting an alternative, positive core belief. You're challenging the critic.
Okay.
This simple ritualized act helps ground you. The source uses the image of sinking roots into fertile soil. It connects you to a sense of inherent worth, separate from your productivity or achievements that day. It combats the self-criticism that fuels perfectionism and anxiety. It basically lifts that heavy burden of feeling like you have to constantly earn your value every single day.
Releasing the burden. That sounds good. And to keep that feeling going throughout the day, there's the idea of building the reservoir of calm. This sounds like the antidote to those sudden stress spikes we all get.
It is. The reservoir isn't built during the stressful times. It's built during the calm times, through deliberate moments of deep sensory engagement. The practice is, choose one small moment in your day to be fully present. Maybe it's while you're eating lunch, really taste the food. Maybe it's looking out the window and noticing the actual color of the sky. Or even just feeling the sensation of warm water on your hands while washing dishes.
So paying attention to ordinary moments.
But with all your senses engaged, notice the textures, the colors, the quiet sounds, the smells. These aren't just taking a break. The source frames them as profound acts of self-nurturing. Each moment you practice this kind of simple mindfulness, you're adding a little bit to your internal wellspring of peace, your reservoir. By doing this when things are relatively good or neutral, you deepen that reservoir, so that when stress inevitably hits, because it will, you have more inner calm, more resilience to draw upon. You're more likely to stay centered. You become that quiet harbor for yourself.
Building the reservoir drop by drop. Makes sense. Okay, let's shift the focus now, look outwards a bit. How do these gentle present choices actually shape our future? Chapter 5 gets into this. The sources argue that the future isn't some distant, abstract thing that just happens to us. It's more like a vibrant tapestry that we're weaving right now with the threads of our present intentions.
Exactly.
This really shifts the perspective, doesn't it? From being a passive passenger in life to being the conscious architect.
It does. It's empowering.
The material suggests a powerful visualization exercise to help bridge today with tomorrow. It invites you, the listener, to maybe close your eyes for a moment and really vividly imagine your ideal day, say 1 year from now. Picture it clearly. Waking up feeling refreshed. Maybe working on something that you genuinely love. Laughing with people you care about. What's the psychological purpose of doing this? It feels a bit like daydreaming, but the source implies it's more functional than that.
It is much more functional. It works on two main levels: motivation and blueprinting.
Okay.
First, motivation. By vividly connecting not just to the idea, but to the feeling of that ideal future, the joy, the ease, the clarity, whatever it is for you, you powerfully motivate your current self. You're essentially programming your brain to associate the small, sometimes tedious actions you take today with a deeply desired future emotional state. It gives the present actions more meaning.
Makes the why stronger.
Exactly. And second, blueprinting. The visualization acts like a powerful inner compass, a blueprint for the future you want to build. It helps clarify the kind of person you need to be to live that life. It subtly guides your choices today, aligning them with that future identity you're aiming for. The future starts to pull you forward, one gentle step at a time.
Pulling you forward. I like that. Okay, so this vision needs grounding. The source brings it back to earth by suggesting we translate this vision into intentional, small, ritualized actions in specific areas of life. It focuses on 3 key areas: health, work, and relationships. And the genius, again, seems to be the tiny scale of the commitment, ensuring minimal friction.
Absolutely. Keep it small, keep it consistent. So for health, the recommended ritual is just a 5-minute walk.
5 minutes, not an hour at the gym.
Nope. It's explicitly not about calorie burning or intense cardio, though those have their place. This ritual is framed as intentional movement, a seed of vitality. It's a simple daily affirmation that your body deserves movement, deserves care. And the source really hammers this point. Consistency trumps intensity for habit formation. 5 minutes every day is achievable. It reinforces the identity, I am a person who moves my body, which is ultimately far more valuable for long-term health than a grueling 60-minute workout that you do twice, dread, and then abandon.
Okay, makes sense for health. What about work? We live in such a distracted world.
For work, the key ritual is taking just 10 minutes to plan your day, ideally before diving into email or reacting to notifications.
10 minutes of planning.
Yeah. So often, we let the urgent stuff, the incoming demands, dictate our entire day. We end up reacting constantly. This ritual empowers you to be proactive, to consciously decide, what are my priorities today? What one or two things really matter? It helps you guide your schedule, even just a little, rather than being completely swept away by the chaos. The source calls this a seed of productivity, cultivated with mindful intention. It brings clarity and focus where professional life often feels overwhelming.
The seed of productivity, I need some of those. Okay, and the third area, relationships. What's the small ritual here?
As this one is profoundly simple, maybe the simplest. Offer one kind word daily.
A kind word, like a compliment.
Could be a compliment, yeah. Or just a genuine thank you for something small that maybe you usually take for granted. Or a heartfelt, I appreciate you. In the busyness of life, it's so easy to let our closest relationships run on autopilot, isn't it? We forget the small gestures. The source suggests thinking of these kind words not just as nice things to do, but as essential preventative maintenance for the relationship. These small acts of connection, offered consistently, they're described as gentle rain, nourishing the relationship garden. They strengthen the bonds, build goodwill, and make the relationship more resilient when inevitable disagreements or stresses arise.
Gentle rain. That's a lovely image. Okay, these rituals sound simple, doable, but the source adds a crucial layer, doesn't it? About the feeling.
Yes, this is critical. It's not just about mechanically performing the ritual, the walk, the planning, the kind word. The listener is encouraged to visualize doing the ritual with ease and, importantly, to consciously connect with and feel the joy or peace it brings, even if it's subtle.
Why is that feeling component so important?
Because it closes the loop. It programs your mind for success. When you mentally link the physical action with a positive emotional payoff, the feeling of calm after the walk, the clarity after planning, the warmth after sharing a kind word, you create this self-sustaining positive feedback loop.
So the good feeling reinforces the habit.
Exactly. It makes you want to do it again tomorrow, not out of obligation, but
Okay.
because it feels good.
So what does this all mean? Where does this leave us?
It means you are the conscious architect of your tomorrow. You're painting the canvas of your life, not with huge, frantic splashes of paint, but with one gentle, intentional brushstroke at a time. And crucially, you can do this without that crushing, self-imposed pressure to achieve some perfect masterpiece overnight. Hashtag outro. So we've covered quite a bit of ground, haven't we? We started with that serene lake, the idea of gentle beginnings through conscious choice. We explored the really amazing cumulative power of small actions, how they shift identity over time. We redefined patience as an act of strength, not passive waiting. And we've just looked at how to intentionally shape our future, not through massive overhauls, but through these tiny, consistent daily rituals. If you sort of zoom out and look at the big picture from the source material, I think the ultimate, most liberating truth that comes through is this. This journey towards serenity, towards growth, it doesn't demand perfection, not at all. It simply demands presence, consistent, gentle presence. And when you truly embrace that, the heavy self-imposed burden of perfectionism, it dissolves. It loses its power. There's this sense that you are already whole, already enough. You're just gently cultivating the conditions for your best self to emerge more often.
That's a beautiful summary. And as you, our listener, step back into your day after this deep dive, try to carry that core truth with you. Every small action genuinely matters. Please don't underestimate the incredible cumulative power of those gentle steps. They really do add up. So the invitation now is simple. Choose just one small step for tomorrow. Maybe it's that moment of gratitude. Maybe it's that quiet 30-second pause before the day begins. Maybe it's the 5-minute walk. Whatever it is, choose it with intention. Frame it as an affirmation of who you want to be, not just another chore on your list. And then just trust. Let it ripple through your life. Remember, you're not meant to be rushing towards some distant, exhausting finish line. The goal is to cultivate contentment, cultivate peace, right here in your present moments.
And the source material leaves us with a really beautiful final thought, a kind of provocation for you to reflect on after we finish here. It suggests, quite simply, every step is enough. So the question to ponder is, if every single step is enough right now, how does releasing that constant pressure of needing to reach some future finish line change the quality of your journey today?
How does it change the journey itself? That's something to really sit with. Find peace in the process, everyone. Trust the unfolding. Until next time, walk gently.